2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Two of them in the last two tournaments. I mean, losing this with a 19-point lead in the second, going into the second half, losing last year when they lost to Houston and had a double-digit lead in the second half, and then there were a couple double-digit second half leads this season that they've lost. I mean, Hubert Davis just got let go after having a big second half lead against VCU. I mean, I wonder how long until they start having those talks.
Welcome back to Two Generations, One Mic. The Elite Eight just wrapped up. We will also be doing a Final Four preview and National Championship preview for this coming weekend. Some other college basketball news. A lot going on in the world of golf. Yeah, good to be with you, Pat.
Hi, bud. Wow, what a weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, starting with Thursday and Friday's games in the Sweet 16 and then the Elite Eight games on Saturday and Sunday. I mean, definitely did not disappoint. What is Illinois probably the highest seed or the lowest ranked seed that's there. So, and that's a 3 seed. So it seems like it's end of the Cinderella's run again.
Yeah.
Maybe the end forever. Who knows? But yeah, I'm looking forward to deep diving into all this stuff with you, bud.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, it is just too bad about the Cinderellas, but it should be good for the Final Four and National Championship. Before we dive into it more, though, let's see your jersey.
All right, here we go. I know you're going to love this one.
Nice. Sean Kemp.
Sean Kemp, the Rain Man. The Rain Man. I'll tell you what, Ben, there are not very many NBA players that dunk the way he used to dunk. I mean, that guy dunked with amazing agility to get up and high, and then the power that he used. It was so much fun to watch. Let me give you some info. So he was born in November of 1969 in Indiana and went to high school in Indiana. Now, what's interesting about his time between high school and the NBA draft, he went technically straight from high school to the NBA. He was one of the first ones that did that. But it wasn't the original intent. His original intent was to go to the University of Kentucky. Unfortunately, he scored below the required amount in the SAT, and back then the NCAA had a Prop 48, it was called, and so they needed to achieve certain academic standards, which he didn't meet. So he did go to Kentucky for not very long. He was there for a few months, left there, actually attended a semester at a community college called Trinity Valley, and never actually played basketball for him, was not technically on the team. So then he declared for the NBA draft. He was in the 1989 draft. He was taken in the first round, 17th overall by the Seattle Supersonics. His entire playing career was 1989 to 2003. He played with the Sonics from 89 to 97, then the Cavs 97 to 2000, then the Blazers 2000 to 2002, and then the Magic from 02 to 03, and then that was the end of his career. Obviously, the peak of his career was when he was with the Sonics in 1995. The 95-96 season is when they went to the finals. They had Gary Payton at point guard and had a really good team. And they lost to the Bulls in 6 games. Something interesting that I learned that I did not realize this, he finished second in the finals MVP voting.
Wow.
He was almost the second person to be voted NBA Finals MVP from the losing team. I did not realize that. That was super cool to find out.
Yeah.
A couple quick stats on him. He was a 6-time All-Star. He was a 3-time All-NBA second team. He was a McDonald's All-American in high school. And then, like I said, went to the finals in 95-96. So Sean Kemp today, bud.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah.
He has one of my favorite plays of all time when he does a windmill over a guy, and I forget who it was on, but it wasn't anyone big. And then the guy gets knocked over, and he points at him as he's running back. So awesome.
So he's one of those that if you go into YouTube and just, search Sean Kemp dunks, and there's some montages that people have put together. It is well worth it. Kind of like Jason Williams.
Yeah,
Some of the old
exactly.
Jason Williams highlights are so cool.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
guys like that are fun.
And that team, Ben, I mean, with Gary Payton locking down guys, the glove on defense, and and him distributing the ball, and again, that's one of those teams that I would play with you when we were playing 2K a lot, and you would take a current team, and I'd do all the old teams. That was one of the teams that I'd take sometimes.
Oh, for sure. You use them a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
All right. Jumping into college basketball because there's a lot to get through here. So,
Yeah, we do.
Thursday and Friday, we had the Sweet 16 games. First game up, Arizona beat Arkansas. Was super happy with that game by them. My only concern going into that game was Darius Acuff Jr. from Arkansas has been on just an absolute heater over the past 2 months. And he was my only concern for us losing. But luckily, Arizona played great defense on him. He did score 18 points, but just poor efficiency. And you can tell Arizona had a good game plan for him on how to defend him. And then Arizona did what they do, scored a ton down low. I did see a stat. They were up 24 at one point late in the second half, and they had only taken 6 3-pointers up until that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
No, it is crazy how few 3-pointers Arizona can take. And they only took 8 in the game and scored 109.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
That is amazing. I mean, it just shows their athleticism, inside the 3-point line.
Yeah, and size, yeah. And then that was the biggest blowout of the Sweet 16. Purdue, Texas, that was a fun one. Close game throughout. Purdue gets that tip and was a really good roll at the very end to win it 79-77.
Yeah. Great game. And then, Purdue rolls into Arizona, which was an entertaining game.
Yeah, keep
go
going.
ahead.
You're good.
No, I was just going to say it ended up being really, I mean, they were back and forth in the second half, which made it really fun.
Yeah, they were up 7 at halftime, and I saw a cool thing. Tommy Lloyd said he talked to the guys for a minute in the locker room, and then he told them, "All right, the coaches and I are gonna step out now. You guys figure it out amongst yourselves." So he let the players talk in the locker room, and he said he's done that a couple times this season when they've been down, and it worked out. Arizona came out physically dominant. Purdue got a ton of offensive rebounds in the first half. And that's not like Arizona to be losing the rebounding battle. But you could tell they got it together in the second half. Purdue's shooting went cold, and they weren't getting the offensive rebounds. Arizona made some great plays down the stretch. Just a good showing by Arizona there.
For sure. And I think Tommy Lloyd's demeanor with his team is just awesome. I mean, I think you compare the way Tommy Lloyd is to how like Dan Hurley is, for instance, which is almost polar opposite. I think is really cool. I like his overall demeanor, and whether they're up or down, he seems to stay very even keeled.
Yeah.
He can get a hair fiery and whatnot when needed.
Yep.
But he doesn't bump officials and all that garbage.
Yeah. No, I'd say 90% of the time he is just cool as can be on the sideline. Like you said, either way, not too hot, not too cold.
Right.
But
Right.
it was funny. At one point in the first half, Purdue's center, Oscar Clough, got away with this travel. He kind of tripped and took a couple steps, and they didn't call it. And Tommy just absolutely lost it running down the sideline to the ref.
Oh,
That's the most worked up I've seen him in a while, but
yeah.
it was funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we had Illinois and Houston on Thursday. I know you had Illinois in your bracket. I had Houston in that game. Houston they could not get anything going, could not get the three to fall.
Yeah.
I was impressed with Illinois here because this was their first really real team they've played up until this game in the tournament.
Right. Right. And, like you and I talked, I think last week, we talked about who we had where, and we both liked Houston, even though I had Illinois on my bracket that I wrote down. I still liked Houston. I mean, because we talked about, you had three guys with experience from their Final Four or their championship game run last year.
Yeah.
And it very easily could have that. It just goes to show, I mean, if the ball's not falling, it's just not falling.
Yeah. And they are a team that does rely. Obviously, they're good all around, but that team does rely on the three ball a lot. Like guys like Emmanuel Sharp, Milo Zuzan, even Kingston Fleming's a little bit, but not to the extent as the other guys. They are primarily shooters. So they do kind of need that three to fall, and it just shows for the fact that they only scored 55 points in that game, which
Yeah.
Illinois is a solid defensive team, but that's not their identity. So
No. And they're
Just there.
and Illinois, a couple of their main guys are freshmen. Playing some experienced guys. You would lean Houston, but anyway, it was fun. I mean, that Illinois team looks pretty good.
No, they do. And on the other side of that Elite Eight matchup, Iowa beat Nebraska to get there. Gosh, I was pulling for Nebraska. They were up 3 at half. I thought they could get it done, but Iowa hit some tough threes down the stretch.
Yep.
Nebraska just couldn't get anything to go in those last 2 minutes, and they had a couple defensive lapses. At one point, they were, what was it, down 3, I think, and
Yep.
Iowa just had that full court pass, and Nebraska didn't have anyone back on their press, and it was just a wide open layup. And I was sitting there at the bar with a couple guys like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. Well, then, there was that kind of big one where they only had 4 guys on the court. So
Yeah.
a couple of mental lapses there where, Coach Hoiberg didn't notice it or whatever, and none of the assistants noticed it, none of the players, and before you know it, and it like everyone has said, it's not on the refs to stop the play. The refs, they've been sitting on the sideline with the ball during the timeout or whatever they were coming off of.
Yeah.
And and then the Iowa guy comes in to inbound the ball, and they hand him the ball, and he pass it. Yeah, I mean,
I'd
kind of
love to
reminds me
know.
of the scene from the scene from the movie Hoosiers when Gene Hackman has taken over the team, and there was a player. One of the players wasn't doing what he wanted him to do. He wanted so many passes before taking a shot, and the guy he pulls that guy, puts another guy in, and then the guy that he put in fouls out, and he comes off. And he doesn't put anybody in, and he says to the ref, "My team's on the floor." That's kind of what it is like.
Yeah, I'd love to know what the miscommunication was there, because in the post-game interview, Hoiberg took the blame, but I feel like whatever guy should know if he's in that situation. So if it was really Hoiberg's fault, or if he's just being a leader, taking the blame, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you just don't see that.
No. I mean, they ran the whole play played out with 4 guys on the court.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And then, Illinois beats Iowa
Yep.
Iowa held their own though for a long time. They started the game on a 9-0 run. Um, Illinois just has too many good points of attack. It was a fun run by Iowa to get to the Elite Eight, but between Keaton Wagler, Andrei Stojakovic, the Visic brothers, they were just too good all around for Iowa to handle. You could really see it show in that game.
Yeah, for sure.
And Iowa's just so reliant on Bennett Sturts. I mean, watching that game, if Bennett Sturts doesn't score, it needs to be a drive and kick three to someone else. And yeah, they just couldn't get enough threes to fall to actually keep up with Illinois the entire game.
Right. Yep.
And then let's see,
Yeah,
Friday
Michigan.
sweep. Yeah, Friday. Um, Michigan, Alabama. We've talked about the past 2 weeks now. Alabama being shorthanded, with no Aiden Holloway after that whole situation.
Yep.
And yeah, Michigan takes them down. And on the other side, Tennessee beats Iowa State. Kind of same thing we talked about with Houston. Iowa State could not get anything to fall.
Right.
We were hoping Joshua Jefferson would come back, but he did not end up playing in that game. And Tennessee just ran away with that one. But then the Tennessee just could not do anything against them.
No, that wasn't a very. I mean, that was just domination.
Yeah, it was too bad to see because
Yeah.
at this point in the tournament, you're hoping every game's going to be close.
Right.
Yeah. Duke St. John's, that was a fun one. St. John's was up one at half.
Yeah.
5-point game. But yeah, Duke came away with it. St. John's couldn't get their threes to go down the stretch. And then UConn, Michigan State, another close one. A lot of these Sweet 16 games were good, close games.
Well, and Michigan State is an exciting team to watch. They're fun, and that was just a good classic, tournament game of back and forth, and UConn came out with it to then lead to the Duke UConn game.
Yeah, which, I mean, that's the game I've kind of been waiting to talk about here. What an exciting game. I mean, Duke up 19 at one point, and I will say, though, the whole game, UConn center, which I had paid attention to him a little bit this season, but not a ton, Terrace Reed Jr., he was absolutely destroying Duke down low. And I'm like, gosh, this guy's really getting him. And then they popped his stats up onto the screen, and partway through the second half, he was at like 26 and 10. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then Duke just kept turning the ball over, and UConn would get out in transition and just slowly in those last 10 minutes clawed their way back into it.
Well, it's interesting. Duke didn't look like anywhere remotely close to the same team in the second half. Excuse me. I don't know if it was tightening up. I don't know if it looked. It's kind of. It's like when you see someone with a big lead in like swimming. Back during the Michael Phelps Beijing Olympics when they were doing the relay, and France was way out in the lead, and you can just see him tightening up, and just the other guy just slowly comes along. It was exactly like that. I mean, they just were not moving the ball the same way. I mean, Cam Boozer was not having the play in the paint around the rim. Yeah. Whether it was him or them not getting him the ball or him not feeling comfortable doing it, it just it looked like a totally different team. And like you said, they just slowly came back, and then you had that exciting last minute. I mean, the minute itself was great because Caravan hit a three. He hadn't hit anything the whole game, and hits a three to get them within one or two. I can't remember. UConn, was on the line, and the guy missed the front end of the first free throw, hits the second, and so Duke was only up 2. Is that right, Ben? 1. So
Two. You're right. You're right.
two,
Two.
because it would if they just would have held on to the ball after
Yeah.
they inbounded it and let them foul, and if they hit the 2 free throws, they're up 4 with 5 seconds left. I mean, then it's a 2 possession game. It's basically over.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that when they did inbound it, there was only 10 seconds left. So
Correct.
a backcourt violation wasn't even a worry either.
Nope.
So, but they passed it around. Caden Boozer gets it at half court, tries to throw it over two guys, which you're double teamed and you know there are 4 seconds left. They are going to foul you right there. Just take your free throws. Like,
Yep.
you know what the idea was? If that pass does get through, then it's over and you don't even have to go to the line. But just take the smart play and
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
yeah.
Being, you know way more in-depth basketball than I do. So, is obviously throughout a season, you are practicing and practicing and excuse me, practicing how to break a press, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's dribbling or quick passes, before a double team comes or whatever. I mean, you spend a whole season practicing how to break a press. When you're in then that situation where, frankly, moving the ball around is not what you want to do, is that should that have been a coaching thing at some point in that last minute, whether it was during a timeout, and I don't remember off the top of my head right now where the timeouts fell, if they even had one,
Yeah.
or if prior to the free throws from UConn, if they went into a TV timeout or anything. I don't remember. I guess what I'm getting at is, should Shire have been able to coach these guys and say, get the ball inbounds and hold onto it. Do not run around and pass or run around and dribble, which is, like I said, what you're trained to do. Because it becomes muscle memory, and so muscle memory is break the press. That's
Yeah.
just what you know how to do, and what they were trying to do, obviously, and it backfired.
Yeah.
For those
And
that didn't see it, it's worth watching. They actually turn it over, a couple quick passes by UConn, and Mullins, a freshman, hits a logo 3-pointer
and
to
I'll
to
put
go
it
up
on the
one.
screen here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Anyway,
mean, yeah, I like you said, I don't remember exactly if they had a timeout. If they did have a timeout, I think he definitely should have called it. But I was talking to my friend that was a big Duke fan, and we were going over everything that happened. And one thing I did agree with him is Isaiah Evans is Duke's best free throw shooter and shooter all around. And for some reason on that inbound, they had him on the far side of the court. He was the one that Caden Boozer was trying to throw it to when he
yep.
turned it over, where he should be one of the first guys to touch the ball on the inbound, thinking they're going to foul pretty quick there,
Yeah.
being that he's the best free throw shooter. So it was just a really poor setup offense trying to break that press. And obviously there is some luck involved with it for UConn. I mean, you tip the pass. You have Mullins there who was in the perfect position to get the steal, because even on the pass, it kind of got deflected towards the Duke guy, but Mullins steps in, takes it, passes it to Caravan, who kicks it back out. And, I mean, that was a deep shot. Braylon Mullins is an awesome shooter, but that is a tough shot, but he nailed it.
It did not even touch the rim.
No, and that had so much arc on it.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so fun to watch the camera angle of Bill Rafferty and Grant Hill and Ian Eagle when he hits it. And poor Bill Rafferty, he's, I don't know how old Bill is. He's got to be, what, late 70s, Ben?
Mm-hmm. Oh, he sure looks it.
I mean, anyway, and Grant and they're both just back, and they don't even know what to say. And then Bill kind of starts to chime in with it. He just says, "Unbelievable! I just can't even." Anyway, it's just so, that's what makes this thing so much fun.
I saw a tweet, and it was that video, and it said, "We almost lost Bill Rafferty there."
That's what everybody's been saying. It's just hysterical. I mean, it's so awesome. I personally in that matchup, I really didn't care. That's all I want is a close game.
Hmm.
I don't particularly care for either team. I think, Ben, that it's worth discussing. If you look at John Shire's losses over the last 2+ years,
Hmm.
uh, two of them in the last two tournaments. I mean, losing this with a 19-point lead in the second, going into the second half, losing last year when they lost to Houston and had a double-digit lead in the second half.
Hmm.
Did they have one the year before that in the tournament or whatever? And then there were a couple. There were a couple double-digit second half leads this season that they've lost,
Yeah.
or last season or whatever. I mean, Hubert Davis just got let go after having a big second half lead against VCU. We just talked about it last week. I mean, I wonder how long until they start having those talks.
I I think the difference is, um, yes, these losses are super disappointing because you do have the big leads and the end of the games in which you're losing these leads isn't pretty. The tip pass, the free throws last year. But he does, in his time since 2022, he has put up results. He has three ACC titles, two Elite Eight appearances, and a Final Four appearance. So it's not quite like a North Carolina situation where you're missing the tournament, you're getting bounced by an 11 seed in the first round. So
Yep. Yep.
I think it's an interesting conversation, and I expect the media like us to be having these talks, but I I don't think it's even close to hot seat yet.
Yeah, I agree.
If you ask
I,
me.
I, I agree. I just thought it was kind of interesting because we just had almost the exact same kind of conversation last week. But, overall track record is a little bit different. But I would imagine behind the scenes in Durham, that there's got to be just a few little rumblings like that.
Yeah, and I would say being the head coach of Duke is such a hard job. I mean, your expectations are so high. It's
So high.
insane.
Yep.
Like I said, it's not like he's sitting here doing nothing. In a 4-year stretch, two Elite Eight appearances and a Final Four.
Yep.
Any other coach is fist pumping in the air at that resume.
For sure.
But
For
you're
sure.
Duke.
Yep.
It's and there's that team in every single sport. I mean, baseball, it's the Yankees.
Yep.
Basketball, it's the Lakers and Celtics. Yeah.
No, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Just a
Um,
fun discussion.
yeah. No, but like I said, it is a fun discussion, and it's the way they lose those games that makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
Like if they
Yeah.
had never led in either of those games, I don't think we'd be having those conversations.
Yeah.
It'd be like
For
you
sure.
just lost the game, but I mean just massive blown leads. Okay, and then so Final Four.
Yep.
On one side we have Arizona, Michigan, which it's too bad this isn't the national championship game because
Agree.
I think it's at this point in the season, it is clear these are by far and away the two best teams in college basketball. I was listening to Barstool the other day, and Mark Titus, their college basketball guy, said it's actually amazing this season. I'll watch a Michigan game and be like, wow, this is the best team in the country. And then the next day I'll watch an Arizona game and I'm like, wow, this is the best team in the country. And he just goes back and forth, which
Yep.
I agree. Even as an Arizona fan, I'm biased, but I watch Michigan and I'm like, holy cow, this team is good.
For sure. And I would totally agree that it's going to come down to, those two teams. What I just hope doesn't happen, and this is for leaning, Arizona's way, for you, is that game is so tough and tires them out so much, either team, that then going into the finals, they're just mentally and physically beat from that game, and then Illinois or UConn on the other side, swoops in there.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of like back in the day, the old 80s and 90s Big East. The Big East tournament was always so tough that they would just beat the heck out of each other for that, long weekend to get to the Big East championship game. And then, those Big East teams would then roll into the NCAA tournament and just be gassed.
Yeah. It is crazy, too, how similar Arizona and Michigan are. I mean, they both dominate inside. Their rosters even. They both have a center that's 7'2" or taller. That's just kind of their dominant rebounder, post scorer, shot blocker. They both have a point guard that's not a shooter, more of a floor general, and that's one of their older players, Elliot Cadeau for Michigan, Jaden Bradley for Arizona. Koa Pete and Yaxel Lendenberg, similar body types, play styles kind of similar. I mean, it is just a crazy matchup, and they both go into the paint. Free throws so I did a little research here, stats. There's 361 teams in Division One, and Arizona ranks third in free throws per game. Michigan is 68th, so both in that top 80 percentile. 3-pointers, Arizona is 356th of 361, and Michigan's 113 of 361. So Michigan obviously takes a lot more, but both of them are just inside forces and don't rely as much on shooting.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I expect it to be a close game, physical down low, a lot of free throws, a lot of fouls. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm excited for this one.
Oh, it'll be good. It'll be good. And the Illinois UConn game will be good. I mean, those freshmen for Illinois are fun to watch.
Keaton Wagler's really good, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Andrei Stojakovic.
Yeah.
I do think it's funny. I saw a video on this the other day, how he's a really good player, and Peja's been there this whole tournament, but he does not play like Peja. It's funny. He drives it a lot more. There were a couple times where it was like a kick to him in the corner or something, and if that's Peja, that's a 3 going up. But he's more
100%.
pump fake, drive, and 1. Not that he can't shoot. He's a solid shooter, but just completely different than his dad.
Yeah. Oh, Peja was so fun to watch, though. Jeez Louise, those were good times.
Yeah.
Those were those Kings-Lakers battles.
Yes. Yeah, those were... Obviously, I wasn't alive then, but going back and watching those, yeah, those were fun. So you gave me a couple fun college basketball stats.
Yeah.
First Sweet 16 since 1954 that doesn't include Kansas, UCLA, UNC, or Kentucky.
Is that not crazy?
That is pretty crazy. 1954. Wow.
That is nuts.
Yeah. And then the other one was Michigan State, only team in the Sweet 16 where all starters all started their careers at that school.
Yeah.
Which,
There's a few other ones, like when you and I were looking at it, there were a few other ones that had one player that had come in from, an outside team, but Michigan State had all 5 starters started at Michigan State. Super cool.
Like Arizona, their only transfer is Jaden Bradley. Yep. And, I mean, he's a senior. He spent his freshman year at Alabama, but he's been at Arizona the past 3 years now. Yep. So, but it just does show
how these guys are moving around.
Like Michigan's the crazy one. I think 4 of their 5 starters are transfers. But, I mean, they've used the transfer portal right because, gosh, their transfers are good.
They are good. Yep. They're really good.
It's just funny how some teams use it right, some teams can't figure it out, spend all this money just like at Kentucky, spend all this money just to have a disappointing season.
Yeah, I know that's tough. That's tough. It's kind of like throwing. It's yeah, they just haven't quite figured out free agency yet. Because that's what it is.
Yeah. And then another or last college basketball story to touch on. So Will Wade leaving NC State after 1 year for LSU. He was the LSU coach from 2017 to 2022. Then after that, he went to McNeese and then NC State. The really interesting thing about this is it was reported after some people did some deep diving that he repurchased his old house in Baton Rouge in February. I forget the exact date, if it was like the 12th or something. Anyway, but his record before and after that date, before it was, what do we say, 19-8, and then after it was 1-6.
Yep. From November 3rd to February 22nd,
22nd.
and then from February 23rd on, 1-6.
Gosh, that is just so suspicious.
There's just so much weird stuff. I mean, you have LSU weird as it is, going on with, with all the stuff when Brian Kelly was let go and AD stuff and all of this. And then the AD that comes in supposedly is, Will Wade's friend that they bring back or that they bring in. And then he buys his house there. And then, I don't know. It's just so creepy.
Yeah. And
I don't know why just feels, I don't know why the word creepy is in my head, but it is.
And I saw too his like end of season press conference for NC State after they lost in the first 4 game to Texas. They were asking him about his first season as NC State's coach, and he's like, it was a solid year. We still have a lot of work to be done. I'm excited for the future and continuing to build this thing, yada, 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 and then gone.
Yeah.
I did see
so
an
annoying when they
interesting
say stuff
number.
like that.
Between Lane Kiffin and Will Wade, between buyouts, coaches' contracts, and like money dedicated to the programs, LSU football and men's basketball is at $200 million this year.
How are these programs going to, and I'm talking about overall athletic programs, be able to be break even? I mean,
Well, and there's so many that aren't. That's the problem now.
that's the problem. I mean, this has to catch up at some point.
I know a couple, at this point, it's probably a month and a half ago after the football season, we talked about Florida State's athletic department because when we were
They've got a
looking
huge
around
deficit.
at that, they're the biggest deficit in D1 right now. I think this past year they were negative 200 something.
Yeah.
And overall with it, since NIL started, they're right around negative 450, if I'm not mistaken, which is
crazy.
an insane number.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, that's Florida State. That's not some mid-major team that can't compete in spending.
Right.
You got to think that football program, from a money standpoint, would be able to carry that athletic department.
I would absolutely 100% think so.
Because it's not like they're spending a ton of money in other sports. Like, they don't hit the transfer portal hard. They're not getting the top recruits in basketball. Basketball can't be taking away a ton of money, but
Yeah,
yeah, crazy.
it is. It's wild.
And then actually one last basketball story I want to bring up. So the rumors are starting to heat up here with Hubert Davis leaving North Carolina and how successful Tommy Lloyd has been in his first, this is year 5 of him at Arizona.
Yeah.
About UNC trying to make a move to get him.
Yeah.
It was it Doug Gottlieb that was
Yep.
talking about it? He reported that Arizona doesn't have a ton of money to offer Tommy Lloyd, which I don't know about that. We've been giving him a contract extension year after year. That the relationship is fractured or it's not perfect between him and the AD, and that Michael Jordan personally called him 2 days ago. I don't know. I'm biased, so I want to hear your opinion. Like, what would you do if you were Tommy?
Well, I mean, I don't know about all that behind the scenes stuff that you're talking about, and did it or did it not happen?
Mm-hmm.
All of that stuff. I think that, I mean, he's building something pretty awesome down there, and I think I would want to stay there and try to make the program, a Duke like or a Lute Olson type program where you're
Mm-hmm.
there for. I mean, I think it would be fun to be a college coach and be successful at a place for a long, long time to where it kind of is your kingdom, kind of like the way Dean Smith at North Carolina,
Mm-hmm.
Krzyzewski at Duke, Lute Olson at Arizona back in his time there. We could go through and name a few more, but whatever.
Yeah.
I think I would want to do that. I wouldn't want to, um, you know, move around, and this would just be a move to where then he could end up doing that someplace else. I mean, so who knows? I mean, I came across something on my Instagram feed that played an old video where Kansas lost in the national championship game when Roy Williams was their coach,
Mm-hmm.
and he came out to do a quick little interview in the hallway after, and of course the reporter, she had to ask, because there was a lot of rumors about him going to North Carolina, and he gives the answer. I know you've got a producer in your ear saying that you need to ask that question. He kind of got mad, but he was respectful about the way that he answered it.
Yeah.
Um, he said not a time to talk about that, and a couple days later he was announced as North Carolina's new coach, and was there for however long and won a couple national championships, and it became his kingdom there. So not to say that Tommy wouldn't go there or some other place, but I think what he's built at Arizona is pretty cool, and he could grow it into something even better.
Yeah, I mean, it was 2 weeks ago we got the number 4 player in next year's class, and
Yep.
we already have another top 25 guy, and I'm sure they're going to be looking at the portal once the season ends.
Yep.
Because I mean, there's already a bunch of good guys who have already entered it from eliminated teams.
Right.
I don't know, and obviously guys like Doug are an insider and I'm not, but for how much Arizona stuff I know, I have not heard a lick about this, like things aren't perfect between him and the AD.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
she
And don't
came.
forget, I mean, there's an element to Gottlieb of media because that was his background before going to coach at Green Bay, whatever.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there is that in his background. So, and media loves to speculate. And so, who knows?
Yeah, and from when I was there, I've been super impressed with this new AD because she came in from Missouri my junior year, and at that point, the Arizona athletic department was in like a $190 million hole, and she's basically gotten us out of it at this point.
Yeah, the
And
whole school was in a major hole.
yeah, and a big part of it was the athletic department. She's done a great job, and Arizona's been able to spend a lot of money this year. The football programs obviously turned it around.
Right.
I don't know, and it just seems like he really has something going there, and the
I
school
would agree.
just loves him,
I
loves
know.
him.
I really, really, really hope he doesn't leave.
I
I really
get
do.
that North Carolina is one of the top 4 blue bloods and is kind of in that tier 1 of college basketball programs. And I mean, Arizona's not quite that, but from a history standpoint, they got to be close to like tier 2 or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Anyway, Let's take a quick break and hear from our sponsor, and then we will be back. Today's episode is brought to you by Solid as a Rock Storage. Looking for secure, dependable storage in the Sioux Empire? Choose Solid as a Rock Storage. Strong, reliable, and easy to access. Located on 271st Street, just off the T exit of I-29, Solid as a Rock Storage offers 4 convenient sizes to fit your needs. Whether you're storing household items, business equipment, or seasonal vehicles, you'll find space that works right where you need it. Call today to reserve your unit at 605-338-9267. That's Solid as a Rock Storage in the Sioux Empire. Storage you can count on. All right, thank you to our sponsor. Looking at a little bit of golf now. So Gary Woodland wins the Houston Open this past weekend. You want to talk about that? Because it's pretty cool.
Well, it's super cool, Ben. So Gary Woodland is just a humongous sentimental favorite amongst the golfing world. A couple years ago, he had, I'm going to say, lesion, or it wasn't a cancerous tumor. It was something in his brain that he ended up having to have a very significant surgical procedure done on his brain. And he's done some neat little stories on Golf Channel and whatnot of, prepping for the surgery. And he tells this story of writing letters to his kids, before going in case something drastic happened, and, up in including death, and talked about the letter that he wrote to his wife. And just tears and all this. It's just incredible. Yeah. And he has this thing done. It's successful. Comes out, and he's been playing the last couple of years. He is a U.S. Open winner, by the way. He won a few years ago. I believe it was at Pebble. But anyway, he then announces earlier this year, and I'm just saying like a month or two ago, that he's been suffering from PTSD, where he gets very paranoid of people being around him. Talks about how at one point he was overshot with his caddy, and he said, I burst into tears with his caddy in the middle of the fairway, middle of a tournament. So a lot of stuff going on with Gary Woodland, and he is such a good guy. He's a good guy. He's well liked on the tour. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, it was the Houston Open, and, because let's see, coming up this week is the Valero Texas Open. So they have the 2 Texas tournaments, the Texas swing before going on to Augusta. Yeah. And so Houston Open, he plays fantastic, has a big lead going into the last day, holds him off. I think he won by 3 or 4 shots. I want to say he went into the last day with a 7-shot lead, something like that. There's an awesome scene where, so he played with Minwoo Lee. Minwoo Lee was the defending champ from last year. Mm-hmm. And they're walking down the 18 fairway. Minwoo, hangs back. Like if someone's, got a lead and, is basically going to be able to close the tournament out, playing competitors will kind of hang back and let them have their walk with all the crowd cheering and everything like that. And there's a great camera angle of Minwoo behind, like pumping up the crowd as Gary's walking up. It gives me goosebumps thinking about it. It's just super cool. And, that golfing community, I think, amongst the players, when you hear all the, behind the scenes stories, is a very close knit group. A lot of times you see, like the other day, Matt Fitzpatrick lost, I forget which tournament it was a couple weeks ago. And there's a great camera. The camera was following him as he left the 18th green, and he swung over to the family of who beat him. And forgive me that I can't remember, and he goes up to the family and says, and is congratulating them. It was the mom and dad of the guy, and then the wife and kids, and congratulations. Cool. And then, it's neat. There's neat stories like that all the time. And it just shows how close that golfing family is, not just player to player, but like player to extended family. They know other players' parents and wives and kids, and it's pretty small and it's pretty cool. And for Gary to win that, be able to punch his ticket to Augusta,
Yeah.
um, so from the previous year's Masters forward to the the year's Masters, the winners of the tournaments each week get invites to play in the Masters. So Gary got his invite. Fast forward a little bit now to this weekend. We have the Valero Texas Open in San Antonio. Um, if the winner of that is not already exempt to the Masters, he gets an invite. So I mean, super cool.
Yeah.
You'll go, basically you'd go, if you didn't already have it, you'd be going into this tournament and gosh, do I pack a second bag in
Yeah.
case I get, in case I win, and I'll go right here on Sunday night from here to Augusta. I mean, how cool is that? It's
Yeah.
just awesome.
That'd
So
be
awesome.
funny to know too, like, because I bet at this point all the Airbnbs and stuff are booked out, and how you find housing in the like less than a week prior to it.
Especially if you're kind of a lower tier guy.
Uh-huh.
You know,
And yeah.
I'm sure there are plenty of big names out there that aren't necessarily exempt in for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, and so they have people. They're connected with people that
Mm-hmm.
getting that sort of stuff won't be a big deal. But if you've got some up and comer,
Yep.
that's 23 years old, has your tour card, because there's 130 players in the field,
Yeah.
and you know you, you're literally driving tournament to tournament in your Toyota Corolla, and I mean, because you always see the guys that fly, they have the NetJet sponsors and all of this sort of stuff and are able
Mm-hmm.
to fly, but there's a lot of guys. I mean, it's a grind for the the lower tiered guys, and
Yeah.
so, like you're saying, I mean, how does all that? That's one thing that I always wish that they showed. There's another cool tournament where, so the tournament before, 2 weeks before the British Open or the Open Championship is the John Deere Classic, and typically, in order to get guys to come to that tournament before going overseas, because then they go Scottish Open, Open Championship,
Mm-hmm.
they will line up a charter flight to leave as soon as the John Deere Classic is over and charter
Oh,
all the players. And it's a way to get guys to come to that. And then they take them all over.
that's
Um,
smart.
but again, same sort of thing. You can qualify for that stuff, but you don't, if you're not
Yeah.
already qualified, but you win that, and there you're going overseas for 2 weeks. I mean,
That's funny. Yeah.
yeah, I think that stuff. And like you said, how does that stuff get lined up? I don't know, and I think learning that stuff would be really kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a hard knocks behind the scenes kind of thing on
Yeah.
you know what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
That kind of thing would be really cool. So like we've been teasing a little bit, coming up is Masters Week is next week. So we have National Championship game next Monday night, and then you're into Masters Week right there. So we'll do a championship game and a good Masters preview next week. So it's going to be neat. So Valero Texas Open in San Antonio this week.
Yeah. And then this past week also, Tiger Woods was driving in Jupiter, Florida, and rolls his car. It's sad to say, but once again, because this is now what, his third bad car accident,
Yep. Well, he had a D. So he's got
or it was the DUI and then two car accidents. Yeah.
DUI two bad car accidents, and then also technically, if you bring up the crash that basically brought his personal life down related to his family and wife, where in the middle of the night on Thanksgiving weekend, he drove into a fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Stuff was going on with Elon. I don't know exactly all that. There's so many different stories from that, but so. But what's crazy about this one, if you look at the street that it happened on, it was just a small little residential street, and he was driving his Range Rover, and it was a truck, like a pickup truck, pulling a trailer with a power washer on it, and that guy was slowing down to turn, and Tiger like floored it, and the front of his vehicle clipped the trailer, rolled it onto its side, and like the sheriff said, if you look at the skid mark, which there are pictures of it, of how
Mhm.
long the car slid on its side, he was moving.
Yeah, and I
It
just got
wasn't like it wasn't like it hit and tipped over and stopped. I mean,
yeah.
he hit it and then slid on his side for a ways, and then of course was arrested for, suspected DUI and not from alcohol.
Yeah, because he blew zeros, but he
Right.
refused the urine test.
Hmm.
And I just got an ESPN notification when we started filming that he told authorities he was looking down at his phone and changing the radio station before the crash. So,
Brutal.
not sure what to believe with all this, but it's too bad because he was, I forget what press conference a month or so ago, whether it was TGL or something like that, but he hadn't completely ruled out the Masters yet, which it's obviously cooler when he plays in it because it's Tiger Woods. But I mean, that'll probably do it for that. So it's too bad.
I would think, I don't know, his mugshot doesn't look terrific. And I'm not just talking about from a, it doesn't look terrific like, you're stressed because all this just happened and all this. I mean, he health wise just doesn't look like he normally
Mm-hmm.
looks. And so I hope, he's one of my I mean, watching him back in the 2000s, Ben,
Yeah.
the 2000 to 2010 was so unbelievable, the stuff that he would do with a golf ball.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, I just hope he gets it squared away.
Yeah. Um, and then this or that. So for this week, keeping it on theme with the March Madness stuff we've been doing, where would you like to attend a Final Four? So including everything, town, venue, etc.
Right. Um, that's a hard one, Ben, because there's a number of these because they hold them in football stadiums
Yep.
now. And you and I have talked, and I've talked with a lot of my friends as well, that it is a really tough watch um, in a football stadium for a basketball game.
Yeah.
And you know, you have the normal seats on the lower bowl, the first section in a football stadium. They're fairly steep, so you have a nice view over the top. Comes
Mm-hmm.
right down to the sidelines. But the basketball court is so much smaller and down inside. So then they actually put, stuff over the top of all those lower seats, so it's much shallower.
Mm-hmm.
And so the viewing isn't great. If you're not in the first, gosh, I don't know, I'm going to say 20 rows. I mean, you're you're looking right over the heads of people, and you got 80,000 people in these stadiums. So frankly, if you were to give me an option, I would love to see it within a more of a basketball stadium. But of course, we're never going to do that, get that
No.
anymore from a revenue standpoint. They're going to be in these things. So cool town. I haven't been to a whole lot of other football stadiums, like Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
or New Orleans or anything like that. But I think I've heard that Lucas Oil in Indianapolis, where it is this year, is really cool where it is in terms of downtown and lots of
Yeah.
stuff, around it. You think of Texas Stadium, that's really out there a ways. There isn't a whole lot of, fun environment directly around it. Minneapolis was great. I thought that was a lot of fun. There's a lot of, restaurants, bars, hotels, whatnot around it. So I think I'm going to go with Minneapolis. I mean, you and I went to the Final Four games there a number of years
Mm-hmm.
ago, and I thought it was super. I thought it was great.
Yeah. Um, on the other end of that, I'm gonna have to go with Phoenix, just because I going to Phoenix a lot in college. I love Phoenix. A lot of fun places to go out, good restaurants. I like the downtown there a little better than Minneapolis. Weather's a little better being in March. It's honestly, or April, basically. It's kind of the
Right.
perfect weather for Phoenix. A lot of with the stadium being in Glendale, like you're kind of right there already. Yeah, I just thought that was a fun experience we had.
Oh, I agree, and I liked it. And they have built up. Glendale used State Farm used to be really out there with nothing around. And like you said, when we were there a couple years ago, they really have built up the restaurant environment around there. Restaurant, bars, hotels, that sort of thing. Me having not been there before, I was very impressed. And there's a lot of fun stuff going on out and around there. My one problem was, like, I remember waiting for you and watching you trying to get there from basically downtown Phoenix to out to Glendale. The traffic flow out there was not great.
That's
And
true. Yeah.
the great thing that I did like about Minneapolis is, like, we stayed out a little ways, a few miles out in a suburb, and there's so many surface streets that actually go right into downtown Minneapolis. It actually is super easy to get in and out of there. And
That's true.
so throwing that in there, that's the only reason that. But I'm with you. Glendale was really cool too.
Yeah. Nice. Fun. Awesome. Good episode this week. We will be back next week we will know who the national champion is in college basketball, and we will get into a big Masters preview. So
Yep. It's going to be a ton of
fun.
fun.
Well, we've been
Can't
waiting
wait to talk
for.
to you, bud. Yep.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yep. Make sure to follow on TikTok and Instagram. Subscribe on YouTube to Gen 1 Mike Pod. Thank you, guys.
Love you, bud.